Good day, students. This is Dr. Narciso, your subject teacher for the subject CBM 121 entitled Strategic Management. At this point, we will discuss the business level strategy and its impact to sustain a competitive advantage to a single business. So, to better understand this unit, we will now again define the meta language for this part. So to start with, we have business level strategy, which means an organization's fundamental approach for enabling a single business to sustain a competitive advantage within a given industry. A competing single business organization should choose only one generic strategy. It indicates the choices the firm has made about how it intends to compete in individual product markets. To be followed by cost leadership generic strategy, which refers to a single business strategy based on being the lowest cost organization in an industry. The firm sets out to become the low cost producer in its industry. Next is differentiation industry-wide generic strategy is a single business strategy based on a uniqueness that offers value for customers and returns that more than offset the costs of differentiation. This strategy has a wide spectrum from full product diversity through a unique feature within a core product. Then, cost focus and differentiation focused generic strategy are single business strategies that apply to a particular part of an industry, such as a market segment or niche, where the business concerned is able to design a strategy that more closely meets the needs of customers than could be achieved by rivals. In cost focus, a firm seeks a cost advantage in its target segment, while in differentiation focus, a firm seeks differentiation in its target segment. So another is the value chain, which is defined as an organizational framework for disaggregating and showing an organization's strategically relevant activities, which is used to help understand and manage the behavior of costs and the existing and potential sources of differentiation. So value chains help increase a business efficiency so the business can deliver the most value for the least possible cost. And lastly is the business models are conceptualizations of an organization's critical areas or processes for the creation of the organization's unique value for its customers. So it identifies the products or services the business plans to sell and its identified target market and any anticipated expenses. Okay, so let us now discuss about the business level strategy. So typically, the strategy aims to sustain a competitive advantage within a given industry. So, strategic management aims to provide a strong long term competitive position that over time will benefit an organization's stakeholders more lastingly than short term profitability. The purpose of a business level strategy is to create differences between the firm's position and those of its competitors. To position itself differently from competitors, a firm must decide whether it intends to perform activities differently or to perform different activities. So, your business level strategy will determine your position in your industry as well as the direction of your profits. It will also affect the efficiency of how you are able to serve your customer base. So, the best approach will integrate several types of business level strategy which are listed below. But first, in order to determine how you will implement these strategies, you have to figure out a few things. So, what is it that your target market value the most? Example is cost savings, brand, prestige, product quality, etc. And are you targeting a broad range of niche market? What are your resources? What differentiates you from the competition? And does your business have the capability to lead and sustain itself in the marketplace in terms of product quality and competitive pricing? So, one way to gain perspective is to put yourself in your customer's position. For example, when shopping for a clothing, which types of brands do you purchase from? How do you rank the importance of the pricing, material, and manufacturing quality, environmental impacts, brand identity, etc.? Compare these perspectives so that your target customers and see how it aligns with your marketing initiative and business resources. So once you've done that, you'll be able to figure out which of the following business level strategy examples will be most effective. So is it differentiation, or it might be the low cost one? Okay, so there are four broad kinds of competitive strategy based on competitive advantage and competitive scope, as seen in the figure. So which do you prefer when you fly? For example, a cheap, no frills airline, or a more expensive operator with fantastic service levels and maximum comfort? And would you ever consider a small company with just a few routes? So the choice is up to you, of course, but the point we're making here is that when you come to book a flight, there are some very different options available. So why is this so? So the answer is that each of these airlines has chosen a different way of achieving competitive advantage in a crowded marketplace. The no-frills operators have opted to cut costs to minimum and pass their savings on to customers in a lower price. So this helps them grab market share and ensure their planes are as full as possible, further driving down the cost. So the luxury airlines, on the other hand, focus their efforts on making their services as wonderful as possible, and the higher prices they can command as a result make up for their higher cost. So meanwhile, smaller airlines try to make the most of their detailed knowledge of just a few routes to provide better or cheaper services than their larger international rivals. So let us now discuss the first competitive strategy rather. So the cost leadership strategy. So the cost leadership strategy of Porter's generic strategies are ways of gaining competitive advantage in other worlds, developing the edge that gets you the sale and takes it away from your competitors. So there are two main ways of achieving this within a cost leadership strategy: increasing profits by reducing costs while charging industry average prices. So increasing market share by charging lower prices while still making a reasonable profit on each sale because you've reduced the costs. So remember that cost leadership is about minimizing the costs to the organization of delivering products and services. So the cost of price paid by the customer is a separate issue. So the cost leadership strategy is exactly that. It involves being the leader in terms of cost in your industry or market. So simply being among the lowest costs producers is not good enough. So as you leave yourself wide open to attack by other low-cost producers who may undercut your prices and therefore block your attempts to increase market share. The greatest risk in pursuing a cost leadership strategy is that these sources of cost reduction are not unique to you, and that other competitors copy your cost reduction strategies. This is why it's important to continuously find ways of reducing every cost. So one successful way of doing this is by adopting the Japanese Kaizen philosophy of continuous improvement. So ako personally, I would choose Cebu Pac or Air Asia in my business trips due to its low-cost airfare. And that is also why a lot of passengers consider these airlines in their tours or business trips. So in the Philippines, we are more particular with businesses with low-cost product or service due also to number of population from middle and bottom of the pyramid. But also it is important to set our expectation just like when we are buying an ukay-ukay clothes. So chances are the quality of the product is low as compared to high-end product. So that is why I can also compare the services and facilities of the Philippine Airline or PAL as top level than the Cebu Pac or Air Asia. So price competition can be dangerous if it sparks a long price war and discounting eats into profits. But if the leader has a large share of the industry's market, it can usually outstay a war that lasts over the shorter term. So the lower the price are likely to increase its market share. Okay, so the second one is differentiation industry-wide generic strategy. So this strategy offers unique value for an industry's customers in a way that more than offsets the costs of the differentiation, which enables an organization to earn above average profits for the industry. Differentiation involves making your products or services different from and more attractive than those of your competitors. So how do you do this depends on the exact nature of your industry and of the products and services themselves, but will typically involve features, functionality, durability, support, and also brand image that your customers value. So to make a success of the differentiation strategy, organizations need first good research, development, and innovation, the ability to deliver high quality products or services, effective sales and marketing so that the market understands the benefit offered by the differentiated offerings. So large organizations pursuing a differentiation strategy need to stay agile with their new product development processes. So otherwise, they risk attack on several fronts by competitors pursuing focused differentiation strategies in different market segments. So the organization concerned will seek to reduce its cost, but only in a way that does not affect the sources of differentiation and the value it creates. So the industry-wide position is important since it involves coverage of the whole industry and its market. So unlike cost leadership, there can be more than one successful industry-wide differentiation competitive position in an industry. So differentiation can either be attributed to the product or experienced through services. So this uniqueness can go beyond both the physical characteristics and service attributes to encompass everything that impacts customers' perception of value. So say for example, these safe skin gloves who does not only protect and keep sanitation to a health worker's hands, but it also moisturizes their skin, which is totally unique since most gloves are used for protection and sanitation only. Another is the experience felt when going to Disneyland, wherein all your senses definitely functions. So that is why it is branded as the happiest place on earth. So based on feedback, it's as if you are in another world when you visit the theme park. So lastly are the cost focus and differentiation focused generic strategy. Companies that use focus strategies concentrate on particular niche markets, and by understanding the dynamics of the market and the unique needs of customers within it, it develop a uniquely low cost or well specified products for the market because they serve customers in their market uniquely well. So they tend to build strong brand loyalty amongst their customers. So this makes their particular market segment less attractive to competitors. As with broad market strategies, it is still essential to decide whether you will pursue cost leadership or differentiation once you have selected a focus strategy as your main approach. So focus is not normally enough on its own. But whether you use cost focus or differentiation focus, the key to making a success of a generic focus strategy is to ensure that you are adding something extra as a result of serving only that market niche. So it's simply not enough to focus on only one market segment because your organization is too small to serve a broader market. So if you do, you risk competing against better resourced broad market companies' offerings. So the something extra that you add can attribute to reducing cost, perhaps through your knowledge or specialist suppliers, or to increasing differentiation through your deep understanding of customers' need. So note, generic strategies apply to not-for-profit organizations too. A not-for-profit organization can use a cost leadership strategy to minimize the cost of getting donations and achieving more for its income, while one is pursuing a differentiation strategy will be committed to the very best outcomes even if the volume of the work it does. So as a result is smaller. So local charities are great examples of organizations using focus strategies to get donations and contribute to their communities. Okay? So in choosing the right generic strategy, your choice of which generic strategy to pursue underpins every other strategic decision to make. So it's worth spending time to get it right, but you do not need to make a decision. Porter specifically warns against trying to hedge your bets by following more than one strategy. So one of the most important reasons why this is wise advice is that the things you need to do to make each type of strategy work appeal to different types of people. So cost leadership requires a very detailed internal focus on processes. Differentiation, on the other hand, demands an outward facing, highly creative approach. So when you come to choose which of the three generic strategies is for you, it's vital that you take your organization's competencies and strengths into account. So if we check it well, cost leadership and differentiation is somewhat opposing. Kasi in the cost leadership, you are aiming to lower down the cost of the product to sell it at lower cost. However, in differentiation, you have to invest for research and development to make your product or services unique against your rivals, which require high investment. So that is why one must not expect to sell it at low cost. Kaya strategists advise to focus on what strategy you have to adapt. But there are also companies who are very good in using both of its strategy. Example is the internationally acclaimed number one fast food chain, the McDonald's. So McDonald's offers value meals which is affordable to the public, not just here in the Philippines, but also in other countries. So aside from that, their menu set per country differs depending on the culture or customer's preference too. So let's take a tour at McDonald's Milestones. So by 2003, restaurant sales were down nearly 5% and profits were down by 11%, making its food healthier through continuous innovation. So in 2003, they offered the apple dipper salad. In 2006, they introduced the egg McMuffin, which is a very nutritious sandwich. And in 2010, the real fruit smoothies, as in no added preservatives, was offered. Kasi yung major problem sa US that time is the problem on obesity. So in order to address that problem, in which one of the major contributors, according to study, are the fast food chain, so that is why McDonald's offer this healthy menu. The salad, the McMuffin, and then the real fruit smoothies. So they also switched to trans fat free cooking oil, and part of the strategy they applied is the differentiation strategy, wherein they offer the following. So they also offer the Mac Arabia's grilled chicken in Arabic bread, Shogun burgers, teriyaki pork in Hong Kong, so Mark shawarmas or kosher meat in Israel, bulgogi burgers in South Korea, and Mac spicy paneer in India. So as you noticed, in every country, lahi-lahi pud silag mga specialty nga gina-offer. No? Kasi it really depends on the culture or the preference of that specific country. So in 2009, high margin coffee like Starbucks was introduced and Chipotle barbecue with Angus beef burger in 2011. So for low price strategy naman, their leading products are the Mac Sundae and the cheeseburgers. So in which I think everyone of us agree with this. Kay barato raman jud good no. Yon. So however, due to several choices offered by McDonald's, they've encountered this menu creep problem, wherein long waiting line was experienced since customers have troubles in picking up their orders due to several choices, which is not good. Kasi chances are, ma-irritate ang mga pumipila, and worst case is maglipat na lang sila sa kabilang store. So that is why, to address this issue, they've decided to remove low-selling products, retaining those best sellers. So moreover, here is a two additional differentiation strategy adopted by McDonald's. At France, McCafe really exists, like having a Starbucks or Highland Coffee. Plus in Japan, they offered a cherry blossom theme, McFloat. And in Germany, McBeers are also in the list. No? Kasi as we all know, in the Germany, specialty talaga nila yung mga beers. Diba? Then in Japan is yung Sakura or cherry blossom theme. Okay, so they offer that kind of menu in that country only, exclusively. So at this part, let us now have a tour how beautiful some of their stores worldwide. So grabe ang investment nila when it comes to their physical facilities. So first, let's have this White Mansion McDonald's in Ohio. Di ba? Good for fine dining style, hindi pang fast food chain ang dating. Next is an airplane McDonald's in New Zealand. Very playful environment and best for children. So when you go inside that store, para ka talagang nasa passenger seat ng isang airplane. So naka-design talaga siya ng ganyan. Then a UFO McDonald's in Roswell, New Mexico. A UFO style facility, di ba? So very interesting. Then followed by an Art Deco McDonald's in Melbourne, Australia. And then the fine dining restaurant at Hungary, Budapest. The biggest Happy Meal Box McDonald's at Dallas, Texas. Another is the White Mansion McDonald's at Mexico. A magnificent drive-thru in South Korea. A romantic McDonald's fine dining at Italy. And yung pinaka-the best is the new Hong Kong restaurant dubbed as McDonald's Next, which offers a dialed back, so muted experience that adds a touch of the slow food movement to the Happy Meal experience. So speaking of orders, things here have changed too. So in addition to using the traditional service points, customers can now personalize and purchase their meals using interactive kiosk stations that represent a world's first for the company. So I have seen this type of restaurant mostly in Japan, no? Pero in Hong Kong, merong ganitong McDonald's na setup. Now you can customize, you can add more cheese or more corn or yung mga healthy na mga leafy vegetables. So you can customize. So of course, merong price for each add-ons. So the role of a value chain is to identify those strategy relevant activities in the core areas of the organization to assess how they interact together to sustain a chosen strategy. So an organization sustains its competitive advantage by performing these strategically important activities more cheaply or better than its competitor. Value chain analysis is a strategy tool used to analyze internal firm activities. So its goals is to recognize which activities are the most valuable. Example, are the source of costs or differentiation advantage so to the firm, and which ones could be improved to provide competitive advantage. Just like the intervention did what did the McDonald's do due to menu creep problem. So nag-reduce sila ng mga menu items. So in other words, by looking into internal activities, the analysis reveals where a firm's competitive advantage or disadvantages are. So the firm that competes through differentiation advantage will try to perform its activities better than competitors would do. So if it competes through cost advantage, so it will try to perform internal activities at lower cost than competitors would do. So when a company is capable of producing goods at lower cost than the market price or to provide superior products, it earns profits. So Michael Porter introduced the generic value chain model in 1985. So the value chain represents all the internal activities a firm engages to produce goods and services. So VC is formed or primary activities that add values to the final product directly and support activities that add values indirectly. So in Porter's concept of a value chain, Porter splits a business activities into two categories, the primary and support. So whose sample activities we list below. Okay? So specific activities in each category will vary according to the industry. And primary activities consists of 5 components, as you can see in the picture, and all are essential for adding value and creating competitive advantage. Example first, the inbound logistics that include functions like receiving, warehousing, and managing inventory. The operations that includes procedure for converting raw materials into a finished product. The outbound logistics include activities to distribute a final product to consumer. The marketing and sales include strategies to enhance visibility and target appropriate customers such as advertising, promotion, and pricing. And the service, which includes programs to maintain products and enhance the consumer's experience, like customer service, maintenance, repair, refund, and exchange. So on the other hand, The role of support activities is to help make the primary activities more efficient. So when you increase the efficiency of any of the four support activities, it benefits at least one of the five primary activities. So these support activities are generally denoted as overhead costs on a company's income statement. Example, yung procurement, ito. Okay, procurement concerns how a company obtains raw materials. We also have this technologically development is used at a firm's research and development or the R&D stage, like designing and developing manufacturing techniques and automating processes. We also have the human resource management that involves hiring and retaining employees who will fulfill the firm's business strategy and help design, market, and sell the product. And then infrastructure, infrastructure that includes company systems and the composition of its management team, such as planning, accounting, finance, and quality control. So let's have this example of value chain analysis in the Starbucks Corporation. So Starbucks offers one of the most popular examples of company that understands and successfully implements the value chain concept. So let us see Starbucks' primary activities starting with the inbound logistics. So the inbound logistics for Starbucks refers to company-appointed coffee buyers selecting the finest quality coffee bean from producers in Latin America, Africa, and Asia. So in the case of Starbucks, the green or unroasted beans are procured directly from the farms by the Starbucks buyers. So these are transported to storage sites, after which the beans are roasted and packed. So value is added to the beans through Starbucks proprietary roasting and packaging, which helps to increase their selling value, just like on Coca-Cola, where they seal the syrup formula involved. So the process was also a trade secret. That is why no one can imitate its bean quality. So the beans are then sent to distribution centers, a few of which are company owned and some of which are operated by other logistics company. So the company does not outsource its procurement, ensuring high quality standards, so they do it on their own. So right from the point of selection of coffee beans. So next is the operations. Starbucks operates in more than 80 markets, either in the form of direct company-owned stores or licensed stores. So Starbucks does not follow the traditional franchising terms. So the company has more than 32,000 stores globally, and it also has the owner of several brands, including Tevana, Seattle's best coffee. I really love this coffee, and so far I only saw this in the airport. And we also have the Evolution fresh drink. Okay, so owned yan ng Starbucks. Then we have the outbound logistics. There is a very little or no presence of intermediaries in product selling for Starbucks. So the majority of the products are sold in stores. However, storage and distribution to retail locations are important also. Then we have the marketing and sales. So Starbucks invests more in superior quality products and a high level of customer service than in aggressive marketing. So, however, the need-based marketing activities are carried out by the company during new product launches in the form of sampling in areas around the stores through conducting research survey. So, research in the industry is very vital because we are now following the marketing concept wherein we have to know first the wants or needs of our target market in order for them to be highly satisfied. So in the service, Starbucks aims at building customer loyalty through its in-store customer service. So a signature retail objective of Starbucks has always been to provide customers with a unique Starbucks experience. So service training is a key component of the value chain that helps to make its offering unique. So a substantial amount of value is created when baristas make drinks for customers. So as you notice, di ba, merong personal touch talaga kasi as you order, they will be asking for your names, and upon getting the order, they will be calling you by your name. So in this simple way, it really captures the heart of the customers. So let us now check the Starbucks support service, starting with the infrastructure. This includes departments like manager, finance, legal, etc., which are required to keep the company's stores operational. So Starbucks employed business managers in its corporate offices. So it also has store managers on site that help to oversee the well-designed and pleasing stores, complemented with good customer service provided by the dedicated team of employees in green aprons. So for human resource management, the committed workforce is considered a key attribute in the company success and growth over the years. So Starbucks employees are motivated through generous benefits and incentives. The company is known for taking care of its workforce. So a key reason for a low turnover of employees, which indicates great human resource management. So there are many training programs conducted for employees in a setting of a work culture which keeps its staff motivated and efficient. Okay, then the technology development. Starbucks is very well known for the use of technology, not only for coffee-related processes to ensure consistency in taste and quality along with cost savings, but to connect to its customers. So many customers use Starbucks stores as a makeshift office or meeting place because of free and unlimited Wi-Fi. So for law students, researchers, BPO industry, or employees, common working space talaga yung mga ganitong setup. So here in Tagum, though we don't have Starbucks here, but we have several coffee shop na din who have same facilities or ambience like Green Coffee, Anipa, UU, Dance Cafe, and Beans O'Clock. So for procurement is integrated across various aspects of the supply chain, and Porter discusses procurement as a support activity. So many companies will establish broad terms, requirements, and standards for all of their procurement dealings. So however, procurement relationships typically vary widely. So Starbucks handles all of the procurement for its own coffee beans, which it sees as one of its competitive advantage. Another example is in Greenwich, wherein part of their CSR is to adopt potato farms, sponsoring selected costs for farmers, and buy it from them. So Bean O'Clock at Subricary Street, who advocates in promoting local coffee bean and give back to the local farmers also. So I'm not promoting something here, pero it really makes a difference. So iba talaga sa feeling if a business is supporting their own. So support local, ika nga. Okay, so with this, the bottom line is that the concept of value chain analysis helps business managers to better identify useful and wasteful activities by looking beyond standard means for efficiency analysis while also seeking to integrate and capture value chain analysis in business metrics. Stakeholders can make important insights related to operational processes. So overall, value chain analysis can be used to potentially identify value improvement opportunities throughout the various steps of a business cycle, also adding to improved margin efficiencies. Okay, let's continue. I know that you are familiar with this topic, next topic, since it was discussed already, the resource-based view. It was already discussed in the previous videos, no? So this is a model that sees resources as key to superior firm performance. So if a resource exhibits VRIO attributes, the resource enables the firm to gain and sustain competitive advantage. Diba? VRIO stands for value, rarity, inimitable, and organizable. So according to RBV components, it is much more feasible to exploit external opportunities using existing resources in a way rather than trying to acquire new skills for each different opportunities. So in RBV model, resources are given the major role in helping companies to achieve higher organizational performance. So there are two types of resources, the tangible and then the intangible. So tangible assets are physical things like lands, buildings, machinery, equipment, and capital. So all these assets are tangible. Physical resources can easily be bought in the market, so they confer little advantage to the companies in the long run. So business rivals can soon acquire their identical assets. Intangible assets are everything else that has no physical presence but can still be owned by the company. Brand reputation, trademarks, intellectual property are all intangible assets. So unlike physical resources, brand reputation is built over a long time and is something that other companies cannot buy from the market. So intangible resources usually stay within a company and are the main source of sustainable competitive advantage. So the two critical assumptions of RBV are that resources must also be heterogeneous and immobile. So heterogeneous, it means that the first assumption is that skills, capabilities, and other resources that organizations possess differ from one company to another. So if organizations would have the same amount and mix of resources, they could not employ different strategies to outcompete each others. So what company would do is the other could simply follow and no competitive advantage could be achieved. So this is a scenario of perfect competition, yet real-world markets are far from perfectly competitive, and some companies which are exposed to the same external and competitive forces are able to implement different strategies and outperform each other. Therefore, RBV assumes that companies achieve competitive advantage by using their different bundles of resources. So the competition between Apple Incorporated and Samsung Electronics is a good example of how two companies that operate in the same industry and thus are exposed in the same external forces can achieve different organizational performance due to the difference in resources. Apple competes with Samsung in tablets and smartphones market where Apple sells its product at much higher prices and as a result reaps higher profit margins. Why, while Samsung does not follow the same strategy, simply because Samsung does not have the same brand reputation or is capable to design user-friendly products like Apple does. So, immobile. The second assumption of RBV is that resources are not mobile and do not move from company to company. So, at least in short run, due to this immobility, companies cannot replicate rivals' resources and implement the same strategies in tangible resources such as brand equity, processes, knowledge, or intellectual property are usual immobile. So as for the VRIU framework, I advise everyone to watch again the previous video since it was well discussed in those videos. Okay, so the term business model refers to a company's plan for making a profit, and it identifies the products or services the business plans to sell. So it's identified target markets and any anticipated expenses, and business models are important for both new and established business. So for new business, feasibility plan is conducted and for existing one is business plan. So they help new developing companies attract investment, recruit talent, and motivate management and staff. And established businesses should regularly update their business plans or they'll fall or fail to anticipate trends and challenges ahead. So business plans help investors evaluate companies that interest them. So a business model is a high level plan for profitability operating a business in a specific market. A primary component of the business model is the value proposition. So this is a description of the goods or services that a company offers and why they are desirable to customers or clients. So ideally stated in a way that differentiates the product or service from its competitors. So there are as many types of business models as there are types of businesses. For instance, direct sales, franchising, advertising based, and the normal na brick and mortar stores. Ang magtukod jud kag stores or stalls, dira physical facilities are all examples of traditional business models. So there are hybrid models as well, such as businesses that combine internet retail with brick and mortar stores or with sporting organizations like the NBA. So several business models also emerges in these times of pandemic, but one thing is for sure, they have to invest online or be a partner of online transaction services like food delivery. So mostly here in Tagum, the restaurants are partnering with food deliveries kasi there is a limit of movements na karon dili tanan allowed nga mugawas, di ba? So one way para convenient kay nga maka-order gihapon sa mga restaurant is to go with the food deliveries such as yung mga Food Panda, for example, or J4E, and others. Okay, so mas easy. And then, for example, another, we also have Lazada and Shopee. So if you have any online transactions, you can easily buy in that specific na website. So easy na lang din. And mostly, okay din naman ang mga products. Okay, although na ay mga defects ang uban, pero mostly okay pod ang ilahang quality. Okay, so one way to ensure quality is to check for the reviews or comments before adding it to cart. Okay, so that's it for this unit or big picture. And if you have any question about this, so do not hesitate to ask during the video conference. So thank you and God bless.